You don't know music if you're not familiar with Anthony Fantano, the host of the infamous music review channel, TheNeedleDrop, which analyzes genres all across the board. Since his first post 14 years ago, the self-proclaimed internet's busiest music nerd has grown a platform that gets the attention of even the biggest name artists, for better or worse.
You talking shit about me having lyrics that are repetitive?
That's not my, it's not my fucking question. Okay.
Well, I saw your fucking review.
It's not my fucking question.
7 you gave me.
At his level of popularity, not all of your work is met with praise. And when it comes to the world of hip hop, Fantano is constantly having to defend his often unpopular opinions. He even managed to make some enemies along the way. My name is Louaista, and this is why hip hop doesn't respect Anthony Fantano. Anthony Fantano's decision to review hip hop has always been met with a divided opinion across the internet, and his supporters are often stating that everyone is entitled to their own opinion, even in music. Among those who admire his work in this regard are rappers, like Joey Badass, who appeared on his stream a couple of years ago.
Thank you for giving me a platform, man. I've been a fan for years, you know what I'm saying? I think what you do is great. Keep pissing people off.
That's what I do.
It is your fucking calling, dude. It's your fucking calling. So you take that shit by the fucking nuts and you keep going, you know?
At the same time, plenty of people out there despise the fact that Fantano has dipped into hip-hop, claiming that he's just a suburban dude that speaks on music from the streets, has clear biases, and that some people ride his dick like he's some sort of music genius because he listens to multiple genres. The truth is, Fantano considered these possibilities long ago, and initially decided to steer clear of hip-hop when he first launched his channel, knowing problems could arise if he didn't. But the quality of early 2010s rap was worth talking about, and it got him back into the genre. Names like A$AP Rocky, Danny Brown, Kendrick Lamar, and most notably, Death Grips.
You know, I didn't feel 100% comfortable with reviewing it, and it did make me even more uneasy doing so when I started to cover it, around 2010, I was getting a lot of reactions like, you don't really like the genre, why the fuck are you reviewing it? Your opinions on all this shit are like super stupid and head ass and all this other stuff.
He started hitting controversy with rap fans when his rating of classic albums like DS2, Damn, House of Balloons, and most infamously, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy missed the mark.
I enjoyed a lot of what I heard here. I just didn't like a lot of the drama that this thing served up because it just doesn't feel all that relevant. I'm feeling a light to decent 6 on this thing, but that's just my opinion.
To this day, this is among the most infamous reviews from Fantano, and the video currently sits at just over 69,000 dislikes at the time of this recording. But backlash on reviews like these hasn't fazed Fantano, and he believes they are outweighed by the power that his platform has to uplift young rising stars in the game.
I think a lot of people came to realize that, you may not agree with everything that I say. I may come from a different background than a lot of other rappers do, but I can still appreciate the genre. I appreciate what makes it great. I appreciate when, I've done what I can to put artists on in the genre. I've literally used my platform to boost the careers of artists who before didn't really have much going on in terms of buzz or attention. And I, personally know that from my reviews, there are at least a handful of artists who have gotten signed.
This is the core of Fantano's hip-hop presence, a struggle between his undoubted influence and contribution and the people who refuse to recognize his qualifications within the genre. Thus, for every lyrical shout-out from rappers like Marilyn Wood, there also has to be some kind of negativity to go along with it. If Anthony Fantano is truly the internet's busiest music nerd, it might explain the fact that he doesn't seem to have time to digest certain projects to their fullest potential. Shortly after the release of Cherry Bomb, Tyler the Creator turned to Twitter and blasted the critic for already negatively grading the project, but not because his feelings were hurt. He was just shocked that a review had come out only 30 hours after the release, and pointed out some of the confines that Fantano seems to put rap under in his critiques. Ever since, Fantano has lightened up on Tyler, and in turn, the rapper has left him alone. But the sentiments he put out have continued to echo through other artists, like Isaiah Rashad. Following a long hiatus, the TDE prodigy re-emerged with his long-awaited album, The House is Burning, in 2021, and its all-around quality had fans overjoyed. But Fantano was underwhelmed by the singles, and rated the album a 5 out of 10 on his review. It started to seem like projects that don't meet the caliber of Igor or To Pimp a Butterfly were going to be discarded, which pushed Isaiah to jump online to air out his frustration. He's not employed by a magazine. He literally chooses to make money by getting views of hate bombing people. It's poor journalism too. It sparked a full-fledged battle where Zay fans were coming at Fantano, and even TDE's president Punch got involved when he asked the critic to explain his process for reviewing black music. There were a lot of people on the side of Rashad here. After all, he did release an incredible project, but there were still plenty of those left wondering what the hell everyone was thinking. Anthony knew he would have to settle the score, and when an IG live with Punch fell through, he instead uploaded a video and repeated a familiar point of defense.
I did, and I've been doing this for 10 years, if you don't remember, and what I'm gonna get hate for at this point is pretty predictable. I appreciate the varying opinions on the record. I appreciate the content of the record, but as much of that element of the album is good, I can't use that to reconcile the fact that I just find the record underwhelming. So I have to be honest with you about how I feel.
It's not always his opinion that causes problems, as what people consider cultural ignorance has gotten him into trouble as well, like a beef with Wale. Following the release of 2017's Shine, Anthony has some critiques for Wale's attempt to create unique rhythms by incorporating international sounds on the song My Love. And in his words, Wale called out what he felt was Fantano's gross lack of understanding and awareness. But rather than take the situation seriously and clear the air, Fantano took to YouTube and made a mockery out of it, a tactic that he would go on to use many times to avoid scrutiny.
Apology to Wale. Wale, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. I'm sorry I fucked up talking to you on Twitter. I was getting crazy. I was getting wild. I was a total mess. And I hope you can accept my apology. I'm just apologizing to you man to man. I didn't mean to make you upset. I didn't mean to hurt you. I shouldn't be so crazy with the critiques on Twitter, because at the end of the day, your music is a reflection of you. I'm sure you feel. Again, sure you're a good guy, and I apologize, and hopefully you can accept my apology. All right, that was my apology to Wale. Sent in from a daddy, $5 apology right there.
Since no real compromise was ever really made between them, other rappers started chiming in like Vince Staples, who claimed they needed to squabble up. That's classic Vince, and speaking of him, even he isn't the biggest fan of Fantano as part of rap culture, despite regularly getting decent grades from him. As far back as the release of his debut album Summertime '06, Vince was aware of TheNeedleDrop, and from the outset, he seemed to slyly suggest that Fantano didn't really understand black culture.
It's great, Anthony Fantano gave us a 6 out of 10, so I want to thank you for the kind words of encouragement. We love you even though you don't love us.
After receiving a 6 out of 10 on 2 of his most acclaimed projects, Vince was unbothered and carried on with his life, until Fantano stuck his nose where he shouldn't have. After commenting on a Twitter beef between Vince and metal vocalist Ronnie Radke, the cutthroat boy wasted no time coming at the critic with heat and suggested he stay in his place. Ain't you get caught for being alright? This ain't a good day to interact with me, brosif. I'm giving out the full clip. Of course, Fantano shot back with some receipts, unfazed, claiming the article he found that information on was a hit piece. Up to his most recent project, Fantano is a huge fan of Vince's and has tweeted about wanting to meet up at a show in Connecticut. But it's safe to say that the Long Beach rapper feels differently.
If you can pick any way to murder in cold blood, I'm not gonna ask you that. What I'm gonna say is, if I had my choice, I would get a boat. I would dock the boat east side of Long Beach, off Ocean by the Roof Chris. Drag him on the boat by his feet. He's kind of buff. Drag him on the boat by his feet. Put him on the back of the boat. Take his. After you take his, you leave him on Catalina Island. You cut him open and you leave him with the goats.
What's your beef though? Because
I don't have one. I just don't like that talk about rap music and don't like it.
Yeah, I was saying shit about
fair.
that today. Yeah. It's like blackface journalism.
I get good grades though, so thanks, dude.
Somehow, Vince isn't the only rapper that Fantano has received some serious death threats from, as we'll see later in this video. Other artists like Killer Mike have pointed out to Fantano's seemingly shallow understanding of black art, who noted a sudden drop in approval after he moved away from typical hip-hop projects. A similar sentiment was shared amongst emerging mumble rappers, as the genre began sweeping the charts, with artists like Lil Xan and Trippie Redd being completely shit on in Fantano's reviews. In Trippie's case, he went onto Instagram to voice his frustration when Fantano gave his Pegasus album a strong 1 out of 10. Bro, he said the same shit about XXXTentacion's album. Who cares? Dude's reviews be trash. But he clearly cared more than he let on, and complained that Fantano was still calling him trash when he believed he put out a versatile project with the Explanation Point album. While for Lil Xan, he was really blunt, to say the least.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, really?
NeedleDrop.
You don't like
dope,
him?
Bro.
Oh yeah, he dissed you hard.
I think he with the NeedleDrop, I think he's biased. He knows a lot about alternative rock and all that weird stuff, but when it comes to rap, I think he has no A, because he gave Lil Peep like a 1.
Really?
And then 2 weeks later, Lil Peep's dead. You know what I mean? So, and Lil Peep's a great artist. So the NeedleDrop, I think you have no way to speak on rap.
From Trippie Redd to Tyler the Creator, there's an undeniable pattern in the issues that rappers hold with Fantano. Still, his ever-present criticism has remained a thorn in their sides, for some worse than others, such as Eminem, who Fantano received a slight diss from after years of torment in his reviews. Every old head talks about Eminem as one of rap's GOATs, and truthfully, he really is. But we can't deny the tough breaks he has faced from critical modern audiences, with Fantano at the forefront.
Yeah, this thing is awful.
Since Revival, Shady has battled his perceived fall-off, which he blames the internet for, as tastemakers like Fantano create a culture that he has to try to combat.
Maybe because it doesn't sound like everything else and what most people are doing, maybe that was what tainted their ear. Because I remember a time in hip hop where you had to be so different from the next person or you were trash. There's a shift somewhere that happened that if it doesn't sound like everything else, then it's trash automatically.
Eminem never forgets, and as he raged against the critic through the Kamikaze era, Fantano would eventually find himself on the wrong side of the track, specifically Calm Down with Busta Rhymes.
Fucking internet bloggers. I sit in front of my computer all day and comment on everything. I'm an expert on everything. Everything sucks. Play the next song.
Like he did with Wale, Fantano responded with humor and levity, which is all that he really ever gave anyone when he found himself in the crosshair.
So this Eminem man dissed me in a song that he's in, where he's rippity-rip, rapping.
Then we got more info on how Eminem really felt about Fantano when his artist Boogie did an interview claiming that M advised him to not listen to his reviews.
Like you said, he tells you a lot of things, but what's something you always carry with you?
2 things is me not taking blogs personal when they give me like bad ratings. Like it was this dude named Anthony Fantano. I love that name dropping. His name like NeedleDrop on YouTube. He like famous for like rating people albums.
Oh Lord.
So he gave me like a 7.5, and obviously my brain, I think I'm supposed to have 100 out of 10. He gave Eminem a 2. So Eminem was like, yo, he give me bad grades every time. You can't take that personal because like some people just not gonna understand it. You know what I'm saying? I gotta have consistent belief in myself. It can't be based off of other people saying.
As recently as M's Houdini was released, Fantano has continued to rip him apart, to the point that even some of his fans are pointing out that it just seems like pure disdain at this point. With Eminem, Fantano's issues seem to come from believing that Shady should have more to say at this point in his career. But one artist he could stand to hear less from is Drake. With the notable exception of If You're Reading This Is Too Late mixtape, Fantano has never been a big fan of the Six God and criticized how he moved through hip-hop. At one point, he even complained about his use of Afrobeat and Jamaican rhythms, only to be shut down and told that he was being ignorant.
Something that's been looming larger and larger and larger on Drake's project since he dropped the dreadfully boring Views from the Six. And Certified Lover Boy, I think, is the most punishing of these 90-minute marathons that Drake has been dropping as of late. And that's mostly due to a lack of memorable songs and even memorable performances from Drake himself. Like, he is legitimately outshined by every feature on this project, even the ones that don't even sound like they're trying all that hard. Hello, Travis Scott.
Fantano's tolerance for Drizzy reached the lowest point of not good for honestly never mind, at which point the OVO leader decided to clap back. What first surfaced was a typical comical input from Anthony, who claimed that Drake had DM'd him a cookie recipe and made an entire 8-minute video about it.
But I'm not messaging you about your videos. I'm actually messaging you because I found a really great vegan cookie recipe I'd love you to try. Drake is sending me a vegan cookie recipe.
With the video racking up nearly 1 million views shortly after its release, the Six God would reveal what really took place on his Instagram story, where he said, "Your existence is a light one, and the one is cause you are alive. And cause you somehow wifed a black girl. I'm feeling a light to decent one on your existence." Now, it's not really clear what Drake was going for here, as it obviously backfired and painted him as a childish, dramatic hater who couldn't handle a low score from an internet nerd.
He posts the real messages himself. It make Drake look like the most bitter, emotional, passive-aggressive loser I've ever seen. I just don't get what type of response you think that this is gonna breed from people. No one outside of the yes men and the peers that you have are gonna look at this and be like, ha, you really got him. They're gonna be like, oh, you watch this dude unironically who shits on your music and this is the best response that you could come up with? A barrage of 3 messages that look like they came off the back of you drinking too early in the evening.
Fantano has continued reviewing Drake's projects and even gave Her Loss a generous 6, but he didn't let Drake off easy, as Fantano has been relentless during the Kendrick beef. Bro literally wore funeral attire to the Not Like Us Listen stream and heavily critiqued the Wagwan Delilah track.
And all Drake fans can do at this point is seethe and cope and sit there obediently as he shovels trash like this down their throats, which, you know, honestly is like the closest I have come to genuinely feeling bad for Drake fans in a minute. But yeah, I don't want to hear this song ever again for the rest of my life, and yet I know I'm probably going to have to hear it at least a few times more before I'm in the ground, because this is most definitely landing on my worst songs of the year list.
Not every Fantano feud that a rapper may come across has lasted forever though, as was the case with Logic. Bobby Tarantino wasn't exactly beloved by a lot of people at the height of his career, not least of all Anthony Fantano, who has handed him some scathing scores without remorse. But during his retirement, it seems as though he struck a bond with Anthony, but not before his harsh opinions took a major toll on his creative endurance.
Do you guys know Anthony Fantano?
Yeah, the Melon.
Yep, the Melon. He would review my music ever since my mixtapes, and it would always like fuck me up because he would always basically say how I wasn't like good enough. Mind you, he wasn't just totally shitting on me. He would give me like credit. Like if something's good, he would say it's good. Mind you, it's just his opinion, right? But I find it really funny that after I announced my retirement and stepped away, now me and this dude like text each other and shit. Now he's like, I consider him like a buddy.
They seem to be on good terms, but Anthony will likely keep him at arm's length after the release of La Donda, a track where Logic admitted to wanting to kill his bald nemesis at one point.
Feel it in my bald spot, Anthony Fantano. I used to fantasize about murdering you, choking you to death.
Logic tore him a new one on this track and called his fanbase a legion of fuckboy minions, all of which Fantano has reacted to live on his Twitch, and it was clear that he was cringing.
I'm searching for a word. The word is embarrassed. I feel embarrassed. I feel overemphasized. And what I mean by that is like there never should have been any reason why Logic should hate me in the first place. Because I'm just reviewing albums. You know, you're just one of many guys whose albums I review negatively.
He has every right to feel shaken up here. Listening to someone he likely felt comfortable with at this point say they wanted to kill him is pretty disturbing. But it does suggest that while guys like Vince and Killer Mike feel his opinions are shallow and meaningless, others acknowledge the power he holds in the online music community. You can debate all you want about Fantano's credibility, or whether or not the game respects him at the end of the day, but the undeniable truth is his relevance. With that, he has remained true to himself and always stuck to his guns in the face of Twitter fingers and trigger fingers. Like the time a Gunna fan pressed him in public.
Yes, it is, bro. Sex time shit, bro. We gonna wipe your nose next time, bro. Oh God, bro, we gonna wipe your nose and do that shit again, bro. Myself, shit, I ain't playing.
Nothing will faze this man from doubling down on his opinion, as he continued to rate Gunna's work honestly, or at least until he decided to put these relentless fans in their place. This petty move warranted a response from fans, but also reopens the conversation of his blatant disrespect towards hip-hop, only reassuring he'll receive a similar sentiment in return. But there's one thing that this genre really values, and that's authenticity. One thing Anthony refused to shy away from when it comes to his music opinions. Now armed with a global audience, he clearly isn't going to change his ways or stop critiquing what he feels isn't contributing to the genre or helping advance it in any way.
Moving on from there, Ian. Never stop. This is terrible. Just listen to Playboy Cardi instead. This is awful. Save yourself a stream. Save yourself a minute. Save yourself a headache.
And for every person who hates him, there are just as many people who defend his contribution to rap discourse and appreciate his place in the game. So while not everyone in the booth or on the mic respects the Melon, people aren't going to stop tuning in to hear what he has to say anytime soon. So don't be surprised if a part 2 comes out after he's finished with a new fresh batch of enemies.